Hello, 5th graders. Today's flipped lesson is going to be about story structure. We've already talked about this in shared reading with our story, A Package for Mrs. Jewls, and we did it as a class. Now it's your turn to do it by yourself. For this particular activity, you're going to be using the book that you are reading during Read to Self time, or if you are not currently into a book, maybe you just finished one, or you haven't started one quite yet, then I'm okay if you want to use the book that we've been reading during reading groups. However, you need to have some book that you are going to use for this activity. I am going to use the book Holes. Now, you may not have heard of this book or read it yet, so that's why I'm using it as an example. And so what I'm going to do first is just make a big square on my paper, just like that. And then I'm going to come up maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down and draw a line splitting my square. And then in this top little rectangle, I'm going to draw a line right down the middle so that I have 3 squares or 3 sections all together. Now in this first section, you're going to list the characters. I'm only going to list 1 or 2 of my characters for the sake of time, and really in this little section you only need to list the main characters. I know during shared reading we listed all of the characters in our story, but for now during Daily 5 I'm okay if you only want to list the main characters. So one of the main characters in Holes, his name is Stanley Yelnats. And so I would list him under characters. Another main character in Holes is Stanley's grandfather. And so I'm just going to write Stanley's I'm going to say grandpa to make it short. Stanley's grandpa. And the funny thing is, they have the same exact name, so that's why I'm going to say Stanley's grandpa instead of Stanley Yelnats. Over here in this second box, you're going to list the settings. And remember, the settings are where the story takes place. And so, in Holes, the very opening scene is of Stanley, and he is on a bus. And so I might say bus, because they don't have a particular city that they're in quite yet. He's just on the bus. And then the next place he comes to is Camp Green Lake. So I would list Camp Green Lake. I'm only going to list 2. There was probably a lot more settings maybe in your book that you could add. So think about what are the important settings, what really matters in your story. Now, in our final little box, you're going to talk about the plot. And in this, I really want you to focus on the important events in your story. So not just the little things that really don't matter in the story, such as somebody ate a banana. Not really important, doesn't add much. However, if the banana was poisonous and it killed a character, that would be really important. So really determine what's important and what's not important in your story. Now, one of the most important things that happened in Holes, and I'm going to make a bulleted list for plot, is that Stanley, and I'm trying to think of how to word this, Stanley was walking when a pair of shoes fell on his head. That was one of the first things that happened in Holes, and it is a huge, important event for the rest of the story. So that's one of the things I would list in plot. Then I might say Stanley was arrested because the shoes were stolen. Now, I'm not going to tell any more of what happened. I'm just going to list those two. However, in your story structure, I would like you to think of, how about 4 to 5? So under plot, next to plot, I'm going to put 4 to 5. You need to have at least 4 to 5 important events that happened in your story. Also, if you need to make this box bigger, I understand. You can erase the line, make it bigger, and that way you have more room to write. After you're finished with that, you may close your writing journal. Make sure this is in writing, and continue with the rest of your daily 5 activities. Also, one thing I forgot, write the name of your story or book you are reading at the top of your paper. And then also put the writer, the author, and I'm going to put it just up here, and I'm going to put by Louis Sachar. All right, and that is your story structure for daily 5. Awesome job. I can't wait to read all of yours.